So Le Mans Ultimate is finally out to the public, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my honest impressions of the game and kind of my review after playing it for a few hours and pretty much getting all of the content soaked in and trying everything out. These are my takeaways. I want to immediately say that as a sim, stripping everything away, the car driving experience, it is amazing. This is, of course, based off of rFactor 2. It's using the same engine as rFactor 2. Somebody in a Steam review put it best. This is rFactor 2.5, and it drives pretty much identically to rFactor, and rFactor touts especially its tire modeling and how the tires impact the road and how they communicate, and it all feels very good, and everything feels realistic. I've never driven a GTE, LMP2, or hypercar in real life, so I can't really, of course, speak to the accuracy, but they all drive pretty alright. My only gripe with them, and this is mostly probably a skill issue, but on cold tires, the cars are actually undrivable. I don't know what's going on with them. I don't know if it's more a setup thing, or if it's just I suck. It's probably the latter, but when the tires are cold, they are cold, and you have like zero grip. So just be prepared for like 3 laps, especially if you're in a prototype, to just be sliding around indefinitely. The AI are definitely hit or miss. You can have some pretty decent racing with them, especially if you have them at the right difficulty for your pace. However, they are a little bit incident prone. They do some really strange things sometimes, like in Fuji especially, and the GTs. Rexy just kind of killed himself on the start on one of my races, and the AI also just kind of break in the middle of the straight going into Sector 3 at Fuji, and they have these little tendencies that really are kind of annoying. They also train track a lot, and if there's an incident, they really stack up, especially if you're in like a big pack of GTs. So just stuff to be aware of. It's kind of another one of those things where that's kind of how rFactor 2's AI is, and with this being very much derived from rFactor 2, the same issues you have there are going to be present here. As for the visuals and the sounds, the graphics, they're definitely not the best for sim racing, but they're not the worst either. Again, as I've said, derived from rFactor 2, they look pretty damn similar, so it looks alright. Definitely not great, but not the worst either. The sounds, though, I will give the massive props to the sound team at Studio 397 that they deserve. The sounds are fantastic. We have bump starts as well for the LMDH cars, so the Cadillac and the Porsche, and man, they are just so nice to listen to, and the Cadillac especially sounds pretty decent. The cockpit sounds, I feel like, for some of the cars could be tweaked a little bit, but especially those exterior sounds for like the Porsche 911 RSR and the Cadillac LMDH car and the Corvette, they all sound absolutely fantastic. Going hand in hand, especially with the visuals, is the performance. Now, I'm going to say immediately, I have a NASA computer pretty much. I have Ryzen 7 5800X and an RTX 4090 and all the RAM I could ever need. So I am definitely an outlier when I say I have good performance, because reading the Steam reviews and talking to people in my stream chat, in general, it seems like there are more people having performance issues than are not. Although, however, it could very well be that the people who are having the issues are obviously talking about them and the people not aren't. But yeah, just be aware, if you don't have a super high-end computer, you might not have the best performance in the world in this game, even with lower graphics settings. So just something to keep in mind. I think you're still probably going to have to try it for yourself to know for sure. But yeah, just a heads up on that. On a similar vein to the performance issues as well is the bugs. Now, a few weeks before release, of course, this game was moved into early access by Studio 397. It was originally just going to be a full release title, but they did move it into early access, and I can see why. I didn't have anything super duper game breaking necessarily. I had a couple crashes throughout the time I've played, all of which were loading into something. Most of the time it was the race, but People have definitely had more crashing issues. I've had people who say that their force feedback doesn't work, they can't access menus and things like that. Probably another one of those things where you're kind of just going to have to try it for yourself. I don't think a lot of these are repeatable. I tried to do certain things that people were saying that they were doing that was getting them glitches, and nothing ever happened for me personally. So it's kind of going to be a case of your experience may vary. And the two final things that I want to talk about is the online and the lack of a career mode. This is probably going to be a super big one, is offline play. That's one of the big reasons why you're buying this, probably, is to have that officially licensed WEC offline experience with all the cars, all the drivers, and everything like that. But somehow there is no career mode, and I don't even know how you would not do something like this. I hope it's added in a future update, maybe with all the 2024 content coming at a later date. But yeah, I think it's criminal that this game doesn't have a career mode, and I really think that's going to be a massive turnoff for a lot of people. And finally, for the online, I would love to tell you my experience with it, but I can't because I could never get into it. Every single time I tried, my game would either crash loading into it, or I would click to join a session and it would just load forever. It would never join. And then when I try to back out, I would only be able to drive in the menus the car I was going to drive in the online session until I restart the game. It's a really weird bug. And yeah, I would love to tell you about the online. I'm sure it works okay. But unfortunately, I never got to experience it at the time of making this because I couldn't get into it. So as a whole, would I recommend Le Mans Ultimate? I think if you are a big hot lap person and you really want all of the WEC content, all of the officially licensed cars and drivers and everything like that, you want them at maybe potentially their best in terms of their physics with rFactor 2's physics model, then this is going to be a definite must-have for you. However, if you're not super duper big into sports car racing and WEC, or you just don't really have a super good computer and you might not be able to run it super well, then it might be one of those things where try it and see if you like it. If you don't, return it, or just kind of steer clear of it, unfortunately. I really think this game has a lot of potential. I'm super excited for the 2024 content update that's going to add the BMW, the Lamborghini, the Alpine, the Islata Francini, Qatar, Coda, all the GT3 cars. I think that's going to be an amazing update. But right now, with all the 2023 content, the lack of a career mode, and the bugs, it's definitely going to be one of those things where if this currently doesn't sound very enticing to you, you might just want to skip out on it. But that's all I really have for this review. I try to keep my reviews a little shorter. However, there's a lot of things that I wanted to talk about in this one. So there you go. If you did find it helpful, a like and a sub would mean a lot. And I will see you all in the next one. Tell me your experience with Le Mans Ultimate, if you're enjoying it, if you've had issues, and I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.